Oh, hi folks. Hope you're well. Doesn't Monday come around quickly? It's Tuesday tomorrow, back at work. Anyway, welcome aboard. In the future, I shall, I think, concentrate on what my original channel was used for, and that's to look at everyday life, really. So I won't be doing any more product recommendations. I find them, counterproductive, to be honest, because I'm not on here to sell anything to anybody. I just want to share good ideas. And maybe vent a little bit in the sense that I just want to pass out information to you to think that maybe, for example, you might go through this period in your life when you think, am I normal or am I abnormal? What's wrong with me? These sort of questions that tend to hit you in the head. And am I becoming a recluse or am I becoming introvert? I've always been relatively introvert, but I thought I'd tell you a few experiences in my life that could potentially make me appear as being a bit of a bigot. And it's a self-critique, and I'm nobody special. I'm just like you, really. We're all the same. We truly are, because look, you either run this world or you're nothing. That's the sum of it. And we have to be honest. I mean, you talk about the class system, lower class, middle class. What's all this class system shit? I mean, if you have to get up to an alarm clock, you're working class. Believe me, if you answer to somebody, you are working class, because, I hate to say this, folks, but you and I are serfs. That's what we are. So that really puts a dampener on all this class shit. And I can't stand people who are class conscious. Me, I'll talk to anyone. I'll talk to anyone. I'm such a tart. I really will, because I find people fascinating. We're fascinating things. And there's something I can learn from everybody. Everybody, no matter who I talk to, I can learn something. And we learn by lots of ways, don't we? We listen, we look, we feel, we touch, we use our senses. And we've also got a sense, of course, like a sixth sense, right? It's just a vibe. I get these vibes, man, that something's not quite right, So we are transmitting and receiving all the time, and it's non-verbal communication is really important as well. But so many people say things to us non-verbally and we don't even acknowledge it. We don't pick it up. But I think life, as you grow older, you tend to be a little bit more critical. And there's none so more critical than parents watching relationships of their children, if you have children. And I make assumptions in this video that you may have children, or you may have siblings. You might not have a relationship yourself, but your brothers or sisters may have them, and you find yourself being critical. Maybe you can't stand the in-laws for whatever reason, or any partner, a child of yours brings home to show mum and dad, or show off to his other siblings how proud he or she is, exposes, for want of a better word, their new catch to the rest of the pack. And believe me, the pack will rip it apart most of the time. Maybe not on the face of it, but in private. And we are all guilty, I'm sad to say. Me too. And my old man used to say to me, it's better to look like an idiot than open your mouth and confirm it. And that used to hurt. He stabbed me in the heart, why don't you? And it was very true, Because the one thing people can't be hurt by is what you're thinking, unless you verbalise it. But you can tell sometimes what somebody's thinking, can't you? If you learn to look out for the warning signs, anger, amusement, all these sort of things, that non-verbal communication. I mean, I mean, the specialists at this are there's without a doubt, the women are the specialists at non-verbal communication. How does that start? Well, the refusal to have regular nookie, or nookie at all, could be a non-verbal. Or they could just make it verbal by saying good night. And that's the end of the matter. Yeah, you get the hint. What have you done wrong? What is it? Tell me. And there's so many ways, and I am incredibly guilty over this. And in hindsight, I can cringe the number of times I've been such a bigot. And I have. I do self-critique. I am no virgin to the experience, trust me. But much of the time, we only want what's best for our children, don't we? We truly do. This is, well, unless you're a psychopath. But, I've had situations where, I don't know, I've got one of each sex. I have a boy and a girl. We're both adults now, so I don't mind talking about it. But when your children hit this wonderful age of puberty, they suddenly start, instead of knocking around with people of the same flavour as them, i.e. girls knocking around with girls, suddenly she's knocking around with a boy. And, it comes on my radar. I think, oh, who's that chap? That's the first question. Who is he? What does he want? What is he near my daughter for? Because instantly the heckles go up. You become very possessive with your child, especially a female who can be impregnated by such a, flamboyant, suave piece of kit like the new boyfriend. And you think maybe, oh, it's just a friend. That's often the answer. Oh, it's just a friend. So I see him with you a lot. Yes, Dad, he's just a friend. Okay. And just a friend seems to get closer to being, you're with him again a lot. Where are you going this evening? And it sounded like the Spanish Inquisition. And my wife used to nudge me, stop asking questions. Just, yes, but I'm just curious. Why do you want to know? I'm just curious. I care for her, Concerned over her safety. She's going out with a psycho. The fact remains, I just didn't like them. Well, why didn't I like the boyfriends? Most of them. Because, I'll lay my cards on the table. I didn't like the idea of him fondling my daughter, quite frankly. I know, such a hypocrite. Yes, I knew what his agenda was, and he knew I knew. That's the difficult bit, isn't it? Because men being men, boys know men, and men know boys. We've all been one, you see. And I know exactly what's on his hormonal agenda. And, got to the stage where my daughter got to a stage where I wouldn't bring a chap home. We're talking 12, 13, 14-year-olds here. We're not talking adults. And I used to sit there and I thought, well, it's better than if I don't say anything. And then I get told off by my daughter, who turns around and says, why are you blanking him? You're not very friendly. I said, I'm not blanking him. I've just got nothing to say to him. What do you want me to say to him? Do you like him, Dad? It doesn't matter whether I like him or not, does it, quite frankly? You'll still do your thing, whether it's in front of me or behind my back. Whether I like him or not is academic. It's whether you like him. But I'm not going to say I agree with your choice just to placate you and keep you happy. If you want my opinion, I'll give it to you, and otherwise I'll reserve my opinion. But just be careful. Oh, Dad, here you go again. And my wife will go, roll her eyes. He's at it again, being overprotective. Well, it's bloody too right. Especially around puberty time, lots of teenage pregnancies. Oh, don't be... Come on. You had girlfriends in the past, and yeah, but this is my girl we're talking about here. She's special. And, God, I cringe when I think how bad I was. And it got to the stage where I was sitting there almost like a psychiatrist having conversations, really. with the boyfriend, who was officially confirmed boyfriend because they were going around kissing and holding hands. Well, that seems a pretty good deal to me, you know. And it doesn't stop you worrying, does it? Really? And you think, well, you know, then you get a bit protective. You lay one finger on my daughter, you upset my daughter, I'll kill you, I'll rip your head off and spit down the hole, sunshine. You know, you respect my daughter. And you think, well, hang on. I didn't get this when I went out with girls from their fathers. Why should I be like that? And because she's mine. And I'm going to have to carry the can when things go tits up. No doubt, metaphorically, I hope. And yeah, you get that, you see, because the one nagging doubt behind your back is, I don't want my daughter to get pregnant. I know what he's doing to her. You know, and the hypocrite in me is, well, yes, I know. You know, and it's really hard. And I'm sure I'm not saying anything new to you either, but I think you may have empathy with me if you have a daughter who's going up with well, all of them are thugs. I'm totally judgmental. I know what they want. And yes, it's unfair. But it's true, isn't it? You think, God, I just look at him and I think, oh, God. You know, it doesn't matter, you see. It doesn't matter whether he's what he is. He could be perfect. He'd be the model son for a proud father. But when he's knocking around with my daughter, I nearly said knocking off. Well, ultimately he would be, you know, depending on the age, of course. But I think I know what his agenda is. He's either practicing his technique or he wants to lose his cherry, and, you know, and I've been there, done it. But the hypocrite in me would say, well, hang on, he's not going to break his cherry on my daughter or hers. You know, go practice and do something else. Don't touch her. And oh God, it was a nightmare watching her go through her courting periods. God, she brought some trash home, and sometimes I wonder if she brought retard home just to piss me off. I know. And my wife, I'm sure my wife was in a conspiracy with my daughter sometimes, you know, to let's wind Dad up. I'll bring a total moron home and we'll pretend that I'm head over heels with this guy. This is it, Dad. He's the one, you know. And I think, don't do this to me, girl. Don't do this. You'll regret it. I'll get you back. I ain't paying for the wedding. You know, and I'm too young to be a granddad. Yeah, you get this. But it's the invasiveness of it all, isn't it? You think, oh, I know you slime ball, you know, your testosterone, your little head's ruling your big head as a teenager. I get it. I've been there, you see. I've had the experience. But then you have a son. And you have a son you've got to raise to be a man. Well, sons tend to look at their fathers as role models, sadly for some. I just feel sorry for some of them because they haven't got much of a role model, not with the blokes I meet who've got sons. And I try to be a shining beacon for my son. I hope I haven't failed. Apparently not, in his opinion. Even now, he's 26 coming up. But it's different with a boy, you see. I know the hypocritical, I know, because I'm a boy. I'm an ex-boy. It's almost like bravado. Brings this new bird home, you see, the new girlfriend. And the first thing, I'm sorry, but this is absolutely true. Most men look at their son's latest girlfriend and you think, I know right or wrong, but you think, would I or wouldn't I? Yes, that's what we do as men. We look at women, we think, would I serve that one a portion or not? That's the polite way of saying it. No. If it's a no, woe betide your son, because you're not going to let him hear the end of it. You're going to say, what's the attraction? You know, is she rich? She better be rich with a face like that. What's wrong with her, Dad? What's right with her? What do you mean, what's wrong with her? the way she dresses. And you start to pick fault. Well, come on, she's like, you know, I know there's a church in France missing a hunchback of Notre Dame somewhere around. Now, you haven't picked him up, have you? And he's in disguise as a woman. Well, she's not. You know, you get a nudge off your wife. Don't be so cruel. It's his girlfriend you're talking about. Do you think, are you just practicing, or is this for real? Are you just trying to wind me up? Oh, Dad, you said, you know, you're nothing special yourself, Dad. Don't get lippy, son. You know. I mean, is that the best you can do, really? What's the attraction? And it's not all physical. You know, he's had birds coming round the house, girlfriends, and they've been stunning. Absolutely. I thought, he's learning. A chip off the old block. Good, off the old block. Good lad. And then she opens her mouth, done it in it though. And you think, oh, that's it, blown it. You talk about a cat barking or a dog meowing. There's nothing worse than a beautiful girl that talks like some slut. You know, being dragged up. I mean, it's not the girl's fault. I get it. You know, but what's he going to do? Walk around with his hand over her mouth continuously in case she might be pretty, but he takes her out for a meal, he wines and dines her, and he says before he introduces her to his mates, all you have to do is don't speak, okay? Zip it until I speak to you. But it's best if you speak in private. You just look the part, because there are so. this is what happens. And he used to bring these girls home, and they were gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. But they're like, I call them bungalows. You know, they've got nothing upstairs. Well, that's okay. My advice to him, of course, my hypocritical advice would be, well, it's okay for practice. It's like a golfing range, you know, take a few swings at it, but don't get too serious about having a round. Do you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, I can see the attraction. I do get it. She is very tasty. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, practice. But just don't get her pregnant. That's my biggest fear, because I know, you know, child support agency, if he gets her pregnant, the gates of hell will open up, and every girlie's got a daddy. Oh, yes. And every father's got a son. And woe betide you. And then, you know, even if they get married, I mean, you've got to deal with the bloody in-laws, haven't you? I have to deal with her father, and she has to... Oh, don't go there. And this is what I'm dreading. I'm dreading both of my children are currently single. My daughter's engaged. Fortunately for me, I quite like him. And him, fortunately for him. And I think he's a great lad. They're well suited. Wow, success after so many trial efforts. But my son, he's playing the field, and he's, you know, he's playing the field. That's about the best way I can describe it. And not overly excited about the current model, but hey ho. But please, son, please don't get her pregnant. Please don't. Put something on it. Yes, that's the best thing. Oh yeah, all this implants, Dad. She's on the implant. Don't trust a bloody implant. You've only got her word for saying it that she's got one. And the second thing is, you know, implants fail, and it's just like, do put something on it. You know, this is what you want to do. So I'm at that stage with him. I'm just thinking, he's so vulnerable. He's like a little turtle on his back at the moment. You think, oh, please don't slip up, because it could be a monster. But this is my father. Never gave me a hard time like this. I took lots of... My father left me entirely alone, and I can now respect my father a lot more than I used to, although I used to respect him a hell of a lot. But I've got to respect him even more now, because he had the good manners to mind his own bloody business. That's what it's about. You know, if you've got nothing good to say, don't say it. And silence truly is golden. And my advice to anybody out there who's got children in the dating game at the moment is don't say a bloody word. Because when things go right, you've been so wrong. And when things go wrong, They won't admit it. It's all going to be your fault when things go wrong anyway, because you never did like them. So my advice to people out there in Cloud Cuckoo Land who love their children and want the best for them is to have empathy. And that's the ability to, when all else is falling around your heels, learn to shut your mouth. Because nobody likes a critic. You know, I absolutely adore my mother-in-law. I don't have a father-in-law, he passed on, but before I met him. But I do love my mother-in-law. Do you know why? Because from the moment I met her, she never passed an opinion. I used to say to my wife, well, I still do. You know, what did your mum say? She doesn't say anything. Wow, what an agreeable woman. My bag, you see, my cup of tea, that is. But I don't know what's going on in here, and that's the best way to keep it. And I've found less said, sooner mended. The number of times I've put my foot in it. And in hindsight, if I had my time again with a couple of kids like I have, I'd learn to shut my trap. Because I ain't nothing special. Who the hell do I think I am? But there's nothing wrong in caring for your children and wanting the best for them. I just don't want them to be screwed over by somebody with an agenda. Teenagers going into their first relationships is one thing. When your children become more adult, the games get tougher and harder, and they involve finances and manipulations and blackmail and obligations, and he's borrowing money off her and she's committed, and then he'll dump her, or vice versa. You know, it gets more serious as they get older. But the common denominator is me and my daughter, or me and my son. Okay, and the common denominator between us is that if your children love and respect you, they do it for a reason. Because you've never let them down and all the advice you've ever given them is good. Well, sometimes the best advice is to not give advice. Because that means that I would have to consider myself perfect and, oh, I've made mistakes. But my father never went, ha, 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 I told you so. And that is the worst thing you can say. I told you that would happen. Well, bully for you. What are you going to do about it? You know? It's pointless exercise, isn't it? I told you so. No, 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 no. I've won. It's not a point scoring system. The kid's got a problem. Or your adolescent has a problem. It's all really strange. We're complicated as humans, aren't we, really? And in future, when I'm asked, you know, what do you think about something, I'll normally say, to be honest with you, I try not to think about such things. Whatever you do is the right decision for you. That's fine. It's not my life. And that's the point. It's not my life. I've done my bit. You know, you can feed yourself now, and you've got a job, and you can do your thing. And I can say what I would do, but I'm not assuming for 1 minute that you should do it. Because square pegs need square holes, and round pegs need round holes. And I wish I knew it when I was a young parent. But oh, well, I was still learning. But I learned by my mistakes. Because I know in hindsight, even now, I didn't do anything too bad. Because as adult children now, my children, both adults, they both adore me and I adore them, and they have a smashing life, and, well, that's long may it continue. It could have all gone terribly wrong, but you know what? As they say in China, shit finds its own level. Okay, and I look at other families and what they're, my friends, I have a few who have children, and I think, thank Christ they're not my children. I have been truly blessed with one of each, and I have had it so lucky in hindsight when I look at what others are having to experience with their millennials. Well, that old saying, less said, sooner mended. Don't make enemies of your children because, well, they're almost irreparable. The damage is done when they're young. In the beginning, treat them mean to keep them keen, but learn to slacken the rope. And here's a truism. If you give them enough rope, the wrong ones will hang themselves. And then they'll come back. Maybe they'll listen this time round. See you tomorrow, folks. And remember, less said, sooner mended. And although you don't apologise for your mistakes, you could say, I acknowledge them. And yes, they were mistakes. But I won't make them again. Are we friends now? Let's hope the answer is yes. Catch you tomorrow.